Hi, and welcome to this short series of tutorials on Google Classroom. As many of you may know, Google Classroom is becoming very popular in the educational community. Now, in order to be able to use Classroom, you have to be doing so from within a Google Apps domain. And what I mean by that is Google Apps is a management system. Google provides it free of charge to educational institutions. It's managed through a particular domain, so each school district would get its own domain or grouping of accounts, basically. So it could be, I could be jsmith at myschooldomain.net, but everybody in the Google domain would be at myschooldomain.net. Okay, what it allows administrators to do is to control that environment a little bit. So it allows them to determine which apps will be used, how sharing may occur, and various other security and privacy settings. Now, as I said, in order to take advantage of Google Classroom, your district has to be a Google Apps district. You can't just sign up with a private account, and that's why we're not going to be doing activities in class with this. But most school districts do have Google Apps accounts. So if you have a Gmail address that's been provided to you through your district, and this won't say at gmail.com, it'll be using the domain that's associated, but if it is in fact a Gmail account where you can use docs and various other things, then Google Classroom is more than likely available to you. Districts can remove that app, but in most cases it is available. Now, in order to access Classroom, there are several ways to get there, but you could start by going to classroom.google.com. Note that this page, among a lot of other things with Classroom, changes rapidly, so you may come in, it may look a little different. They're building this out, and Google Classroom is getting new features all the time. So what we do in videos or instruction today could theoretically be different a couple of hours from now, or tomorrow, or next week, or next month. But be aware, this is something you have to stay up on if you're going to use, because they are building it out, adding new functionality, and in almost all cases it's an improvement, so it's worth the effort. You can use the sign in button to access your account. Now, in early versions, and perhaps even now, when you for the first time on your browser, go to sign in, you may get an option at some point where you're identifying yourself as a teacher or as a student, and of course you want to pick teacher. So we'll click the sign in button. For me, it's bringing me to this screen, and I've gone ahead and signed in, and you can see that I have two classes in my Google Classroom at this point. And for today, what we're going to do is we're going to take a quick tour of some of the options at this level, and then we'll get into more detail in future videos. So first, in the upper left-hand corner is the hamburger, and this is your main menu. You can see that you have a choice between classes, which I'm looking at now, or calendar. Now, one of the features that was added to Google Classroom is that automatically, as soon as you post your first assignment that has a date associated with it, it's going to create a Google Calendar for you. It will appear in your district account in your Google Calendars. So it'll just automatically show up for each class. And you can toggle back and forth. You can see right now I don't have anything in there, but it will bring you to your calendars, and this would show you any posts that you had made that have a date associated with them. You can go back to your classrooms, and this is how you can jump from classroom to classroom. So if I wanted to go to this class, I would click here. I can always come back to classes, choose the other class. When I do go to calendar, it's going to show me by default all my classes. So it's nice, all my due dates will appear on the same calendar. But if I want to, I can switch here between classes. So now I'm looking at that Google Classroom class that I created, but I can switch to my presentations class over here. And because we don't have a lot of due dates on there, it's not showing you too much, but Just know that you can go between any of your classes, and as you create new classes, they'll appear here in a calendar. Or you can see them all combined, which is a nice option. Now in that menu also you can see work that's due if I were to click on here, or work that's been created for the classes. And here are other ways to jump to those classes directly. Instead of having to go to this intermediate step in your screen, you can just come right into the main menu and jump over to those classes. Now down at the bottom of the screen you do have a settings button, and there's some very basic settings. You could change your profile picture here or go to your account settings. So changing your profile picture, you could upload photos, or you could go to your photos in the Google environment. You could even use your webcam if you have one installed on your device. Let me cancel that for a second. And then there's also Google account settings. These are nice. This is a nice feature, but there's a lot to it. This is for your entire Google account, not just for Classroom. So it has to do with, there's sections on security, a security checkup, etc. There's privacy settings about how your information is handled. And account preferences are over here. So that's beyond the scope of what we're doing today, but just know that those are available to you through settings. Last thing I want to show you is how to create a classroom. So up by your login is a plus sign, and this will allow me to either join an existing class or to create a class. Now we'll look at joining a class in another video, but let's look at creating one. So in order to create a class, you simply need to give it a name. There's an option for section number, and this doesn't actually have to be a number. It can be anything you want, so it could be first period, second period, and this is useful in the case where you're teaching the same thing. I'm teaching Algebra 1, but I'm teaching it to Period 1 class and Period 3 class. So if I want to keep the students in separate groups, etc., I just give it a section number here. So I'm going to call it Period 1 to show that it doesn't need to be just a number. And I'm going to call this. And you can see that some suggestions pop up, but that you can create your own as well. And when I say creating, I go right directly into my class. Now we'll look at all these settings in future videos, but know that if I come back to classes now, I'm going to see demo classes over here, Period 1, and my students here. Let me jump over to a class that's existed for a little while to show you a couple of things. Some of the things Google has added along the way is this top section is now a link directly to the class, although clicking anywhere on there would have gotten you there. Also, you can see that there's a student listing here, and if you click on that, it's going to bring you to a screen and show you your students. This Invite Guardians feature we'll look is very new, but we'll look at that briefly in a moment. There's some options up here. You can either edit the class, and that would just allow you to change the name and or section. Notice once established, you can't change the course type, the class type. The other option you have is to archive it. So archive it is going to take it away from this screen where you don't see it anymore, but allow you to preserve the information, and you could get it later if you wanted to. In the lower right hand corner is now a link that will take you directly to your drive space and where resources and assignments from this class are stored. So what happens is, when you create a Google Classroom, the first thing that happens is Google creates a folder called Classroom in your drive space. So it's just going to appear there. You need it, and it happens automatically. And then within that folder, it creates a folder for every class that you've created. So you can see over time I've created a series of classes that you no longer see on the main page. But here's my demo class, period 1. Here is that Google Classroom Teacher Edition class and Presentations 01. So those are my 3 current classes that I have. Now if you were to go into one of these, here's presentations, you can see these are the things I created for the class. So these are the various assignments, some pictures, and you can load things directly into this space. You can create a Google Doc and put it in this space to make it easy to organize, and then share it out through Classroom. But as you create assignments, the things you create directly in Classroom are going to be stored in here as well. Okay, so let's look at that archive option. When I click it, it's going to give me a warning. It's going to say once it's archived, we cannot make any changes with it, so this is something you want to do only after the class is over. You will be able to view it in archived classes, and you will be able to find it in the folder in your drive space. So let me archive that. You can now see that in the main menu there's a link for archived classes, and the demo class is up there, and that the options now have switched to restore and delete. So if I have archived a class because I no longer am using it because the semester is over and we've moved on, I can restore that class here. And you can see it's back. I'm going to archive it again. Or by going to archived classes. Sorry, I missed that. I can permanently delete it, and at this point I will lose all connection to it or records of it. It's a dire warning that there's no way to undo this. And if I go to that Google space now I'm in Drive, so I'll go to My Drive, Classroom. Demo Class 1 still appears here, but there is no way to restore this anymore. So you still have the records in here if we had done assignments, etc. But any hope of reusing this is gone. Okay, that's a general introduction to Classroom, and we'll look at more details in future videos.